Hey, Jamie here, and welcome to Module 5, Part 3, Strategic Positioning, where we're going to be taking what you did in parts 1 and 2 and bringing it into your strategic positioning for your target audience. So in this, we're going to understand the importance of mental frameworks and the 80-20 principle. Then we're also going to understand the foundations of influence, and with those two together, you'll understand how you'll strategically position yourself for the recruiters, the hiring manager, and who your target audience is. So the reason we're going to talk about mental frameworks first is because we operate and live through using mental frameworks. And all mental framework is it's something that we apply to our lives, whatever it is that we're currently interacting with or thinking about, and it helps us to understand, reason, and make decisions. So one of the people who's active in supporting mental frameworks and people studying frameworks is Charlie Munger, who's actually the investment partner of Warren Buffett. And one of his quotes was that you want to have a lattice work upon which you hang mental frameworks. And with that lattice of mental frameworks, you can then make better decisions and hence better investments in your life. And we just want to have mental frameworks to help us make better decisions in our personal lives and our professional careers. So what are some examples? So Newton's 3 laws of motion in physics, when we understand them, when we drop a pencil or a pen or an apple or whatever, we understand why it falls. Well, before there were these 3 laws of motion, people didn't know why things fell. It bewildered them. It was confusing to them. They thought it was the gods. And so now that we have this understanding, we've been able to continuously advance in physics because we now understand why things happen. And we apply these in our personal lives all the time. And then there's another example, which is a normal distribution or a bell curve. When we understand the bell curve, we can make better estimates about the likelihood of things happening. And we can also understand a broader population, that there's always going to median, and then there's going to be different percentiles as well as likelihoods of things happening and where people fall upon this curve. And then another example is a compound growth curve, whether that's exponential or geometric. But when you understand the concept of compounding, you're going to make different decisions because you understand things differently than someone who doesn't know how this works, who doesn't have this mental framework. And the last example that I'll give, and one that we're going to be applying here, but the 80-20 principle is an extremely useful mental framework in so many different areas of life. And what it says is that for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. So the 20% cause is leading to 80% of the outcomes, 80% of the effects. So examples of where this applies. Well, in our personal lives, 20% of our decisions affect 80% of our life. In fitness, 20% of fitness decisions yield 80% of results. And that's primarily based on nutrition and what you eat, what you put in your body. And then sales. For many companies, 20% of their products yield 80% of their revenue. In engineering, 20% of the problems usually cause 80% of the inefficiencies. In marketing, 20% of a marketing campaign might yield 80% of the traffic. And in finance, 20% of assumptions typically drive 80% of the forecasts. And for your professional branding, the way that we want to think through this is that 20% of your background, so your skills, your knowledge, your experience, as well as some of the credibility and other things that you have in your personal inventory, 20% of your personal inventory is going to affect and influence 80% of your target audience's thoughts. So we want to make sure that what you're communicating to your target audience, not only verbally, but also on your resume, on your LinkedIn, and in your cover letters, you're hitting the 20% that is absolutely what they're looking for. It is the sweet spot. So it's their needs, their wants, and their desires. So the question is, how do we know which 20% to focus on? Well, a helpful way to think through what do we want to focus on and how do we position ourselves is through the foundations of influence. And I want to be super clear here that this is not just for getting a job. This is not just for advancing your career. I mean, influence is one of the single strongest and most important skills that you can develop for yourself. If you think about people leading companies, what is their job? Well, really, a CEO is someone who influences a really large number of people. That's all a company is. A company is a group of people who are on a mission to either solve a problem or advance an opportunity. And the leader of that company and throughout the organization, the leaders of the teams, really their most important job is to influence other people, to get other people to take action. And so this is so important that you understand the foundations of influence. Of course, not just for, of course, for advancing your career and focusing on the transition that you're working through now, but even when you're in the position, when you get that offer, how are you going to influence your manager? How are you going to influence other people on your team? When you're doing a presentation, how are you going to influence your audience? So this is so important, not just for the career transition, but literally for every aspect of your life. Also in personal relationships, influencing other people, influencing someone you're dating, or your spouse, or kids, friends, etc. So the way that we want to think about this is when you're trying to influence, the very first thing you need to do is understand what is the current situation of your target audience, of the person or who you're trying to influence. So in this case, your target audience is recruiters and the hiring managers. Well, whenever you have a target audience, in order to influence them, they probably have to have a problem. They need to have a problem. Otherwise, why would they have to make a decision? So whenever you're trying to influence, there's a problem. But that also means when there's a problem, it also means that there has to be a solution, some pleasurable outcome that person wants. Now, the struggle is that they don't know how to get there. They need a solution, and of course they want the solution as efficiently and effectively as possible. So whenever you're looking to influence somebody, the first thing you need to do is understand what are the consequences and implications of not solving the problem. But then you also want to paint the picture of, okay, so if you do get to that pleasurable outcome, what are the benefits? What would your life look like? What would be better? And understanding the benefits of solving this problem. And then you sell the solution between their current pain and their current problem, and you sell the solution that I can help you get to this pleasurable outcome. I am the solution. I am the middle bridge. And this is what you're doing not only for your career transition, but whenever you're trying to influence anybody, you are helping them to make a decision in some way, shape, or form, and you're usually trying to paint the bridge between the two. So as an example, positioning, I want to do a quick case study with you on Dove. So Dove in the 1950s had a detergent bar or soap bar, and they didn't know how to sell it. They didn't know how to position it because there were already so many other bigger players that had bars of soap. And so they hired an advertising consultant, and that was David Ogilvy of Ogilvy and Mather. And so they brought in David Ogilvy and they said, how do you think that we should best position our soap? And so he came up with two different ideas where he believed that the soap would perform well. So one, it was a bar of soap that was really good at getting grease and oil and fat and all sorts of bad stuff off of hardworking, laboring man's hands. And he was specifically thinking farmers, mechanics, etc. So that was one approach, or one way to position the product. But then the other way to position the product was as a beauty product and a soap bar for dry skin. And it would cream and it would silk and smooth the skin of women. And so that it was really a beauty appeal, a youth and beauty appeal. So two very, very different ways to position the product. Now, what was absolutely amazing was they created marketing campaigns or advertising campaigns for both of these positioning. And this is in the 1950s, mind you. And then they sent out these advertising campaigns to different cities. And they wanted to see what was the different responses between the two cities based on these two different positionings. And it was a 19-to-1 difference in sales. That's how important positioning is. The product didn't change. It was the exact same bar of soap, but it sold and it was worth 19 times more because of how the product was positioned. This is creating value out of thin air. This is perceived value. This is subjective value. It's so important to understand how positioning can affect the value of something. And what's so important is that, all right, so how does this relate to your career? Well, you're essentially doing the same thing. You're amplifying your value that you bring to the marketplace based on how you position yourself. And so when you're thinking about the influence again, who am I trying to influence? Well, the recruiter or the hiring manager has a problem. And usually the recruiter has to go through thousands or more of different resumes and LinkedIns, which eventually leads to 50 plus intro calls or 30 interviews. And really what's going on in the back of their mind is they're like, please just give me someone who is exactly what I'm looking for. That's all they want. They just want to fill the position. And the desirable outcome was they want to get a home run. They want someone who's an incredible culture fit, fits the team well, gets along with everybody, is enjoyable to work with. And then they also have good experience, the skills and the knowledge that are necessary, as well as just a really simple interview process. Ideally, it's a referral. We talk once over the phone. I put you in touch with the manager. You crush it. And then they extend an offer. And it's just a very easy process for them. Well, the thing is that they have that problem. They don't have that solution. That's why they're looking. And they just want, as efficiently and effectively as possible, they just want to find that somebody, which is you. So they have job descriptions and they put those out there for pretty much in their brain everything that they're looking for. They're saying we require this, we desire this, we prefer this, and we're looking for these skills and knowledge and experience. And that's it. And that's why you've already done all that research. You now know exactly what they want. You've studied your background and your personal inventory. And now what you need to do is strategically position yourself as the solution. You're positioning yourself as, I am the person you're looking for. I know you're looking for this, I have this. I know you're looking for that, I have that. So you're taking the research you've done on your target audience. What are their needs, their wants, their desires, their problems? You've studied that through the job descriptions, and you've also done a target position summary. And now you've looked at your background, your personal inventory. What are the skills I have to offer? What are the different areas of knowledge I have to offer? What are my credibility sources? What are work examples I have? You've built your personal inventory, and now you're going to compare those side to side and ask yourself the question, okay, which 20% of my personal inventory communicates directly that I have what they're looking for? And so the way that you're going to do this is you're going to use a strategic positioning worksheet, which is just saying, okay, so you can see the instructions here at the top, but what you're going to be doing is ideally you want all three of these other worksheets open. So you're going to want your target position summary ready, you're going to want your personal inventory spreadsheet, and you're also going to want your professional experiences summaries worksheet. And then when you're going through this strategic positioning worksheet, you're combining them almost, and you're really deeply thinking through what applies to what. So you're going to start with, what are the three most important qualities that I know my target audience is looking for? And you've already thought through this. So if you go to your target position summary, the three most important qualities desired should be at the top of your target position summary. So you're going to take those three and put them here. So most important quality number 1, most important quality number 2, and most important quality number 3. So then once you have those in there, then you want to reference your personal inventory and your professional experiences worksheet to think through, okay, if I know that this is what they want, what are the supporting experiences, achievements, skills, and knowledge and credibility that I have that communicate the fact that I bring this quality, I bring this value that they're looking for. So you're going to want to look through here and pull everything that you have that supports the fact that you have these, as well as you're going to want to look through your professional experience and say, what achievements do I have in my previous professional experiences that communicate the fact that I bring this quality? And that's it. And those are going to be the building blocks, the strategy behind your professional positioning, your strategic positioning of your background to the target audience and communicating the fact that you bring exactly what they're looking for. So go ahead and get started on this. And then after this, after that worksheet, we're going to get into module 6, where we're going to be focusing on taking this strategic positioning that you've done here in module 5, and then we're going to take that strategic positioning and turn it into your personal brand. So go ahead, and I'll see you in module 6.